Well, free food.
So we're so excited to have David. David, how do you pronounce your last name?
Well, you can pronounce my name. It's Buskohl. Now, Bob and some, they would say Buskohl, but if you get in other parts, Dyke or Grandi, they say Buskohl, because that's the way it is over in Germany. And in German, that means cabbage. So and when I was in elementary, someone found that out. They started calling me Cabbage Head. But we won't do that. But first of all, I would just like to thank Teresa, the staff here at Dunkerton. This is a project years ago, and I commend your community for doing what you're doing here. And I'm just going to go off the record and say, keep that building to the south of you. Keep your school going. Don and Bob and I, we don't have one anymore in Gladbrook.
If you lose your school, you lose your town.
You dang right. And I'm president of our alumni association. I'm also a longtime coach for GR and around. So I've been around. I'm still coaching. But yeah, it's very tough. So keep your school. You guys are adding an all-weather track and everything here, but support your local schools, because I'll tell you what, once they're gone, they're gone. You go to where our school is, and it's an empty whole city block. So enough of that. I hope you don't have too many friends in Rhinebeck, but it's because of a stupid decision. And not because they could, not because they had to, because they could. So anyway, enough of that. I get on a bandwagon with that. But anyway, first of all, I'm just going to start a little bit, and I'm so thankful for Bob being here, because he grew up in Lincoln in the area, and his Uncle Leon and my dad worked together. We built our houses together. We built the new addition together, and Bob's dad, Vince, was, if you ever knew Vince, he was one of the most interesting guys. I loved Vince, you know, and later on in his life, Vince he got hunched over, but he was just always around, and he would stand and talk for an hour, and I said, Vince, you want a chair? No, that's okay, you know, and he'd be going. But a lot of good memories with Bob's dad, Vince, and Ellen, and you know, they're one of the people that formed the community. In 1855, in our area, people started coming to the area, and the first area was called 15 Mile Grove. Now, 15 Mile Grove was just down to the corner, to the west of Bob's, and to the north. And it was settled there in many village, and you could still see up until some corporate farmer bought it and took everything down. You could still see where some of the foundations were, and some of the wagon tracks and everything like that. Supposedly, Jesse James camped out there in the grove. And Bob, you might know this story too. He carved his initials in a stump and a tree. They carved that stump out, and someone said, oh, they don't know where it's at. You know, oh, well, someone had it. I think they threw it away. Well, you've heard that story too.
My grandparents always said that Jesse James was in their barn. He would hiding out in the barn, in their barn on the farm.
It depends when Jesse James died. They always said he was in Bert Lamont's barn too. They said, when was that barn built? They said 1900. I said Jesse James died in 1773. So, and he died down in Missouri. So, but that's how stories, but you know, the stories are good. But, so that was then, and then in the 80s, when all the trains started coming through, the Great Western, then they built the train coming through Lincoln, and I'll just grab this one over here, it's quicker. Yeah, and you can see where the train, oh, can we put it there? Okay, let's see what we can do there. See, okay, here's Old Wine right here, and all the Great Westerns, and then this track came through, and they didn't care where any towns were. They wanted to go where the best land was, where you can put your railroad. So anyway, they came down through, and then they went through where present-day Lincoln is. What would it be, Bob? 2.5 miles west, as a crow flies, probably from 15 Mile.
They claim it's the highest point between Old
Yes.
Wine and Marshalltown.
Old Wine and Kansas City.
Oh, Kansas City.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're 1,056 feet, so it's, yeah, so right there. And you can look up and you can look down. So the railroad came through there. So then in 1883, a guy named Charles Spencer came in the 80s and bought that land, and he built a house there. And then in 83, the train came through, and then that's when Lincoln was really formed. But first of all, as you can see from our deal here, it says Spencer, Augusta, Berlin, and Lincoln. Well, Spencer, he thought, well, I'll name it after my own, my name. Well, he realized there's already a town of Spencer. So they go, well, okay, my wife's name, I forget, Augusta or something. Well, we'll name it that. Well, they figured out there's another Augusta. So then her hometown in Scotland was Bellin, Bellin. So they thought, oh, well, that's nice. Well, guess what? A lot of Germans there then. Well, guess what? It got mischanged to Berlin. Well, you know what happened in the late in 1918, 17? Well, we had a war, the World War I. Well, if you were German, you weren't very, and Bob probably had relatives there. They weren't too kind. They would get ridiculed, and some they'd even want to hang those old krauts, They said, so we better change the name. So they thought, and they were standing at the council meeting, and old T.P. Rader, he was an old banker. I don't want to. You don't remember some of,
I don't remember.
You know the names and stuff, Bob. But he said, well, Abraham Lincoln was a great American. Why don't we name it after them? So it got changed to the name of Lincoln, I think, in 1920 or something, and then the old bank and a lot of things were there. But so we have a very storied past. I live on the east side of town, so I always say I'm the honorary mayor of East Berlin. There's a group with Ostfriesian Heritage Society out of Wellsburg, and I'm chairman of that too. But anyway, so when the Germans come over, we just have, every year we have a group of come over, and so on my name tag, I always put my name and East Berlin, and then I put Lincoln. They go, you're from East Berlin? So, but we have a very storied past, and like any small town, at one time, I think in, what did I see? We were at 200, now we're at about 120, 30 people. And Bob can remember, you didn't have to go anywhere to get anything, do you? You went right to Lincoln to get all your stuff.
When I worked at the co-op there in Lincoln, they had a running total of population all the time.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody came or somebody left or somebody died or somebody was born, they knew, oh, we got 204 or something.
Yeah. So, but it's a deal. We did say that it's the highest point on the railroad. The railroad came through. The depot was built in 1883, from what I've read. In the 50s and stuff, the diesel locomotives started coming through, so train. We had 3 tracks. One was what do you call it? By the elevator, it started north of town and went about, I think they always said they had to have it for 100 cars, a second track. Then we had a third track, which was right along the elevator for them to load up. And along there was, of course, like any other, you had the coal, you could load the cattle, you could do everything right along that. And on the other side, that was on West Railroad and East Railroad, there was a depot. And oh geez, Bob, south of the depot, can you remember, like, where, was it south of the depot? Sylvan had that blue building, he put that up.
There wasn't much there.
No, there wasn't, I think it was just storage and stuff, so
Joe, you worked there, didn't you, Joe?
Yeah,
Yeah, he worked in Lincoln.
At where?
the elevator.
Yeah.
You did too? Oh, good.
Well, I didn't work there. We did their work, their repair
okay.
work and stuff.
Okay,
They did maintenance work there.
okay. Oh, great.
That's what it amounted to.
Oh, that's a small, what's that?
That's what it amounted to, yeah.
Yeah. So, so that's the way it was in 19. Yeah, put this one up.
Okay.
This was in 1955. This picture was taken in 1955, before a lot of things came around. It was still, you know, you had the tower and everything. It looks a lot smaller. Now this is probably one of the smallest depots you're going to have, because I think it's 17 by 30, 33 or something. You guys probably know too. But it was a small depot. 1962 was the last passenger trains that came through. And sometimes there was 2 a day, but they quit stopping in 1962 in Lincoln. I think one of the last times they loaded the school kids up, I think in Gladbrook, and they went to Waterloo. So very good, a lot of memories there. There's John Gebers was his name, and his son was what? The Gebers boy. Jack?
I'm trying to think of it.
Was it Jack? No, he had the boy. But anyway, he came as a depot agent, and then he became the manager, or the elevator ran the elevator, manager of the elevator.
Was that before Hamilton?
Yeah, before Elvin. Yes. And his wife was named Nellie Gebers. Now, Nellie Gebers is, if you Google, she studied under Grant Wood with, you know, with painting and stuff. And then Nellie up above in the office up there, up above the office, the old elevator office, where we had pancakes. That's where we had pancakes. Remember that every year, Bob? On Pancake Day, you'd go upstairs and you'd stand in line. You'd stand in line, you know, so up these big long steps, and then you went up. But anyway, she had a studio up there, and they left back in the 50s or 40s. But and then she taught lessons. Now some of these, this one right here is by a E. Grote. Now I don't know which one. But this was a style, and a lot of her styles were of Grant Wood. Now, some of hers, if you Google her, and we have several of them in the church, her pictures, they are of the Grant Wood, you know, motif and stuff. This other one is a picture. This was in the bank, and the gal's name is. Grace Stark Aiken. She did this composite picture of the railroad depot, and this is the one in Dinsdale, which is very similar to ours here in Lincoln, and the one out that we're going to be moving, or you're going to be moving. So yeah, and I found that somewhere in the bank. I said, hey, we need to put that up. But that one sits in my living room along with all my other art treasures and stuff that no one else wants. So, but John Gebers, he came in the 20s as depot agent. There was a Chuck Eilers followed after that. Bill Ayers was there, and his kids were my age, so that's why I grew up. I grew up because we'd go in there, you know, during the day and stuff, and we got to know the conductors, the engineers, the train guy, Jay Haynes. We remember Jay. He was from the Garwin area, lived down by Green Mountain. He ran the putt-putt car. Now this one happened today. He'd say, well, boys, I got to go check it out. Check a rail, why don't you hop on? So we'd hop on the putt-putt car, drive out, he'd check it, we'd come back. Or the engineers would say, hey, we're just going to move a little, you guys want to ride? So they'd get up, we'd be up. Now, can you imagine that today? That would not happen. We were blessed. We were blessed, and anyway, so back in the Great Western came through And then in 1968, they merged with the Northwestern, and the Northwestern sort of took over. So the Great Western is, yeah. And I do have, and I told Teresa this about 3 years ago, I bought a train set because I always wanted to get a Great Western one. And I have a full passenger train, a freight train, and another working train. So, and I said to Teresa, if this is something you might want to do, I might be willing to give up that. I haven't put it together or anything. My neighbor, he does model railroading and redoes stuff. He's going to redo it. But if it's something that we can incorporate into the museum, I'd be probably willing to give that. And
can we take a vote?
no, that'd be good. So no.
Hey, question: was the Great Western? Is that the railroad that came through Dunkerton too?
Yes.
Yeah, the Great Western. Like I said, yeah, go back to that picture. There's three. You had from Chicago to Waterloo, then you have Waterloo to Minneapolis, and then you have this one that went down. So you could go Chicago to Omaha, and from Kansas City, Minneapolis. And then you had all the offshoots and everything. I do have a map somewhere, I couldn't find it, of all the railroads in the state and what years they were abandoned and stuff. So yeah, so I can't even tell where.
Fairbank, Dunkerton, Waterloo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it went through Dewar too. Same one that went through Dewar.
What was the stop after Waterloo? Rhinebeck.
Well, okay, our line went from, I say our line,
It's right at the crossroads with
Yeah.
Old North,
Yeah,
and then
Old
Fairbank is the next one to the south. Right
Waterloo.
smack in the middle.
Yeah, Fairbanks in the middle.
Yeah, okay,
Dunkerton,
yeah, thank you.
Cedar Falls,
Yeah.
Rhinebeck, Lincoln.
Yes,
Okay,
but no, when they would come up,
Teresa, can you pass that one around maybe?
sure.
yeah. But I remember, and when we were on the
Middle going
farm,
down.
we lived just north of Lincoln. It was still in city limits on there, but and we were just a quarter of a mile from the railroad track, and I could hear those trains coming, and you could hear them bellowing to try and get over that hill. There's a lot of times they would have, not a lot of times, they would unhook and go back down, or someone said it's a steeper grade from the south. But they said once they got to Lincoln, it was fine. It was all the way downhill each way. They closed the depot, I think, 70 to 72. Someone said 1970, but I remember Bill still being in there when I was in upper elementary. And then it, Willie Bandfield bought it in 1975. They moved the top half of it off. I don't know if some of you remember. I have, let me see here. I don't know. Can you get that? Can you get that one right there? See what we can do. And as you can see, and this is going by the depot. You can see they took off the top half right there and moved it down. That way they didn't have to move any wires, because it isn't just moving, it's having the utilities company move your lines.
Yeah. Dave, do you remember what the roof was like?
The roof was it was green.
Okay.
I call it the rolled paper type. So
It's still there.
it's still there.
Under the steel?
It's went over,
Okay.
but yeah. And to preserve the building, I almost had to put the steel on, I
Yep.
think. And I don't know what year that probably was put on, but it was there before you got there, right, Joe?
You're right, I think that's what held it together all these years.
Yeah, I think so. Well, any building, if it gets steel on it. But that was, this was our old AMVET hall behind there, and that's what Bob and Don, you remember going there many dances, sometimes two dances all the time and stuff. This was our grain elevator that was built in 64. The north half was built in 56. 2 years ago, they burned them down, and it was the neatest thing I've ever seen. They started at 9:30 on the north tower. By 1:30, they were both down, and you could see it. People were calling in from all over, say, "Hey, there's a fire." We had 20 some fire departments hauling water. So, so that's gone. That's a big. So in '75, it got moved up here, and he had antiques in it, I do believe, and stuff.
Did he have a connection to it that Bandfield wanted?
I think he just noticed that it was available for sale, and he had I think a brother in Dinsdale or something. I think something in Dinsdale, and so he saw it, and he bought it for $1, and he paid $100, you know, for $100 because he had to clean up the area. He got his deposit back. He paid $1, and it came up here. I'm talking to Joe back in so many years ago. My brother worked for Rural Water, and he stopped and goes, "Hey," and so he wanted to give it back to the city, or if it'd be gone, you know.
Yeah,
He tried, and my brother came back, and I got all excited, and I had a place for it, old Doc Plug's office. That was still, I thought, well, we can incorporate that, and I tried to do that, and it would have been a neat place, but it would have taken money, and in a small town like that, and it just didn't work.
As far as Willie getting his hands on it, I mean, it was, you all know Willie. He had his hands on everything, so it was kind of amazing how he got it moved. And then I was wondering if you went back to the other picture that you had up with that Post-it note on it.
Yep.
I'm wondering if they, which is sad if they did, I'm wondering if they cut through those, I guess you call them the brackets on top, the architectural supports.
Yeah.
Because they're much shorter now.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't, gosh, you know, I don't think they look like that. That doesn't look
It might have been cut down a little bit.
And they might have just trashed the roof.
Yeah, I remember, I was in school probably, but yeah.
They just don't look that big. It'd be sad if they did, but I'm assuming that they cut the roof off and then just trashed the roof and made a new roof.
My guys were sitting there drinking coffee one day, and all of a sudden, there goes the depot going down Main Street. So.
That's what your brother said.
Yeah.
Rural Water was coming through, and we bought the house and we gutted it, so we weren't living there yet. I didn't know if the well worked. And then Rural Water was coming through, so I thought, well, I'll give them a call and just get an estimate, see if they can hook up, you know, just in case the well didn't work. And his brother was the one who showed up, and he goes, "Before we get to the water, how did you get this depot?" And he wanted a story about the depot. And he said, yeah, he was on the town council, he's from there, and he said, he remembers sitting there in his kitchen drinking coffee, like he just said, and he said, all of a sudden, he's like, where's our depot going? He said, depot is going down the road, so.
So what do you think? Correct.
I think they're original.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Yeah, they're low.
Okay, there to,
Okay.
Yeah.
what do you think?
Going past
the windows?
I like it.
Yeah.
Are the windows gone? Are some of the windows gone?
No, well,
The
Some are
frame's
broken.
there.
the frame's there, the glass every now and again, I'll stick
It's
another window on
gonna
there.
take some TLC.
But the window on the end here on the right, on the left, I'm sorry, is still there above the doors. And the door,
It is.
the door track,
See,
the hardware's
yeah.
on there, and
Yeah.
it's even got
Here's,
two,
I'll give you an insight.
it's got two screen doors as well that are sitting there. So I don't think that picture showed, but they had two screen doors
Yeah.
on the outside as
See,
well.
and that's, you know, you come in, oh geez, well, you know better than me, Joe. But yeah, this inside here is, I think the inside, the boards are pretty good, I think.
Other than when the bees, they had to cut down some wood, but.
Yeah.
So this picture there in the very middle, that's when you go straight in the walk-in door to it's facing west now. And then you got the ticket booth, I guess would be the window there.
Yeah.
And then a little bit past that, you see it opens up into where they're standing in the top left picture. And then that's that bay window, whatever you call it.
So Dave, do you know, would there have been a solid wall in the top left corner on the right side of that? That's been cut out?
Yeah, that was just a small door. They put a bigger door. They put a bigger door here, if I remember right. It's been 12. But yeah, there was a bigger. It was just a single door.
Yeah.
Just a single door.
In this book, it's got a layout that will confirm with you whether that's how it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it kind of amazes me too that this picture on the top left, just off screen towards us, it's got the big cement opening for the chimney, and then the chimney goes up.
Yep.
And it's shocking to me how it hasn't like collapsed all these years. So
I think
they
the lower
built it
right,
well back here.
the lower right is showing the chimney.
Oh yes, okay,
Yeah.
yep. So they built and you know, on the strong winds of that tornado went through Parkersburg years ago. It missed us about to the north, a couple of miles, but you know, it's just.
I thought
The
about
building
that.
stood the test of time, and it's every now and again I'll pick up a new pane of glass out of the yard, and it was neglected for so long before we got it, and that's when I just hated to see it get dilapidated anymore. That's why we tried to donate it.
And that's why I commend you guys up here and your community for doing this. Not just this, but your whole thing, so you can, you know, if you can't, those who can't remember the past are condemned to repeat it. A historian said.
There you go.
And yeah, and I live in the past. Someone said, don't you ever look to the future? I go, well, no, I enjoy that. So, yeah, it was moved 75 and stuff. So, and I understand after crops are out, they're going to try and move it in. So,
I got another.
Yes.
Do we have any sense of what was inside of it? What were the?
yes, there is a
inside?
picture. We have it.
Okay, I bet it's.
We're not ready. I just.
Where's my? Oh, it's in this book. No.
No, I think this is yours.
I gotta.
That's my book.
Go ahead, Joe. You can.
I have to clarify a story that I told a few months ago. One of these. It was about. If you don't know, Art Roberts here. Art's from the area, and I could have sworn Art told me that back in the day, him and his buddy stole cigarettes from their parents and would sit here to watch the trains. Well, that was wrong. His parents didn't smoke. What they did was they stole beer from the tavern. And then they went and sat in the depot. So I'm sorry.
Get it right.
Well, and you can sit.
His dad owned the tavern.
I'm sorry, Art. I got it wrong.
You should be.
It was 15, 16 years ago, you know.
Yeah.
That's not what it was.
But like I say, that's the advantage of growing up in a small town. You know, you had stories, and yeah, the older you get, the better the stories are too.
How many exits are there now?
Okay,
And like,
now, can anybody beat this? Waterloo can't even beat this. We have 5 exits in Lincoln, because our sign says Lincoln next 5 exits. And they were made by the state, you bet. And they say, which one do you live on? I said, either the first or the 5th one. They're coming. So, I said, if
every
you,
street's got one.
so, but anyway, I'm
Where's the
gonna,
depot in here?
Inside picture.
yeah.
Where's
Wait.
the depot in that picture?
The one on your cover of your book there.
Oh, it's not in, and I have another.
Oh, it's not in there. Okay.
We have a.
Say I saw Nicole.
Oh.
Back
yeah.
here.
Well, yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you some pictures, and my neighbor, he printed these out, and yeah, he was all excited. So, and I'll try and give you some sort of a timeline on. This was taken in the winter. Now this is facing from our main street going north. Okay, thank you. Going north, that's our old water tower, and because rural water came in and put a real big one in. Bob, can you remember the water tower before that one? There was a wooden one?
No.
Okay, all right. Someone said, oh, I remember that.
I'm old, but I'm not that old.
Well, I know I know how old you are, and I just wondered. But, so this was taken, I think Tony was saying back in the, probably the 60s, 70s, or something like that. It's not, Guy took a lot of pictures back then, but I do remember back in 73, the great, is there one on the backside? Yes. Okay, this is another one, and these are what you call the old Jeep engines. And of course you had the rounded ones, and then the Jeep ones came out, but they did utilize both of them. This is still facing Main Street, looking north. Our old fire station, the old elevator sitting there. Probably in the early 70s or something like that, this was taken. I do have one of these railroad signs that's in my, I don't know if it's that one. My dad and another guy, they went out and got a couple one after the train went through.
Got it.
Imagine that, Bill Shat and my dad here, they
Bill
out
Shat,
probably,
oh, yeah.
they were probably stealing stuff, but anyway, probably in their 70s or whatever. But anyway.
Get the story right.
Yeah, so anyway, I do have one, it's sort of faded, and my neighbor, he's gonna put, but I'm leaving that in my lot across the street, because I want to incorporate some things there. But that's that one. And these are just some pictures, just a lot of them just going north, and you can see, and we can remember, you know, it used to be when I was a kid, when they'd call cars, we go, oh wow, look at them, all those new cars going by on the railroad, cattle. I can't remember them loading cattle, but I remember coal and everything. Because, you know, once the semis came through and everything, and Bob's, did your grandpa start the trucking?
Yeah, I kinda did, yeah.
Yeah.
Used to hogs the wrap a lot.
Yep. And then Leon and Arlo got into it, and the trucking, and yeah, that was.
Were you around when Bob Ellison
Oh my God.
blew the tracks up or blew the?
Yeah.
He was trying to blow up.
This was his name. This guy's name was Bobby Ellison.
By the water tower, wasn't it?
Yeah, underneath it. He was gonna blow it up.
Was he your class?
He was in my class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
Bad
was
class.
full of you know what and vinegar. And he was just, oh my God. Yeah, he tried to blow up, with dynamite or something. Oh yeah.
He made a bomb.
Yeah, he made a bomb. Yeah.
Yeah.
How old was he?
Huh?
How old do you
Oh, he was
My age. He
yeah.
was in my class.
That's
How
old.
old is he when he made the bomb?
Oh, probably early 20s. He was
Oh,
back
he
in
was
the.
old enough to know that.
Yes.
Well, he was,
I thought
Very
he was younger
smart.
than that.
Yeah.
he could do things. You know?
But he was just.
Make a bomb.
You just didn't hang out with him, huh?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, he
before
did.
Oh, he did. Yeah. He was a nice guy.
Oh, yeah, nice guy.
He was just full of it. His mom died when he was young, and they lived in the
What happened to
very.
his mother?
She died like in when him and Carl were growing up. But they lived in the first house in Lincoln where Charles Spencer.
Oh, that's
That's where.
behind
Yeah.
Carl's.
Yeah, right. Next to Ruth.
Did anybody eat at Carl's in Lincoln?
Carl's Restaurant. Then it was Village Inn. They came from all over. It was big.
Yeah.
Is that right off the
His
third
old
exit?
house looked bad.
Right off
Yes,
exit
third
3.
exit 3, and then on Main Street.
Yeah, he made a bomb.
So anyway, this is looking south. Now I can tell you, this is probably in the late 70s, because Huygen Ames or White and Son, they built this building right here. That was a well drilling, and Sylvan Ames had the old well drilling. It was called Huygen Ames, and they were one of the biggest well drillers in the state. And Sylvan at one time was the national president of the well drillers, and he was very sought after. And let me tell you, a lot of people in town worked for him at one time or another. Sylvan was very, he knew where his money went, and he started with a band, and he later on took over the company and made it very successful, and most of it went to his daughter and his grandkids, and thank God Sylvan isn't around today to see what's happening. But this is looking, those bins are still there. I think one of them might have got damaged or caught on fire. So
What's the
that's
logo
fine.
on them?
The logo, that's the Northwestern.
No, on the
On the
bin.
bin.
On the top.
Oso?
Old Chicago.
No, you mean,
Yeah, right there.
Right there.
Old Chicago.
yeah, do you remember working on them?
They had sold Butler bins. I just wondered
Yeah,
So I put them together.
if you did.
Don
There we go, we got him.
Oh, gee.
That's the whole crew.
You got an education, didn't you?
You
got an education.
Jeez.
So that's it. That's looking south.
What's that say?
Okay.
I'm taking a picture and blowing it up.
It looks like suck up, but I know it's not that.
Like I say, guys, I'm not from Humanities, Iowa, so
It looks like their logo, but I don't know.
yeah, I can't. I know them. We got our new ones, and then right here, then we put up five huge bins and a new dumping station.
It didn't make it better.
With a tiny wagon and a tiny tractor, I'm sure.
Probably, I don't remember, I just. There's Bob, what's he doing down here?
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, just another picture, just looking north, and you can see here's the caboose where the conductor was, and to me it looks like it could have been, unless it's a bad. And this is probably towards the end of the trains, but those old cabooses. I know when I was working conservation in Morrison, we brought one in, and they were going to rehab it, and that was 30 years ago, and nothing's still been done with it. But so they are neat. They are hard to transport. All this stuff is gone right now. It's part of the elevator stuff, but that was part of Sylvan's well drilling building. So you can flip that one over, trees.
Is any of the rail still there?
None of the rail is there. None of the rail. That was taken out in 80. Last train came through in 88, I think, and in 89, somewhere around there. And then they tore the tracks up, and then alongside right here was this huge wall. All the railroad ties for I don't know how many miles came there. So it was a big wall. So guess what they called it? The Berlin Wall. So yeah, they go, well, the Berlin Wall's going down. So, and that was about the time where, the actual, Berlin Wall and that, so yeah, and I think that's a Jeep engine and stuff, and a lot of this is all changed up there because they put the new, it's amazing. At the one time we had a 1936 fire truck, and that was the only one that was in town. And now we're in with Gladbrook. We disbanded our fire department because, in a small town, tough to get. So we're hooked in Gladbrook. We still have one truck, in town in case something does happen. They can get there quick. And for homeowners insurance, you have to have it too. So that's one thing. And we've got a beautiful, nice fire station, city hall there for a small town. So, okay, there's that one.
It's kind of neat that the picture that you had up, on the flip side of this one with the caboose, and people ask, why would Dunkerton need a depot? We didn't have a depot like this. Why would we move it up to the new complex that we're building? And so everybody's got a story, I think, tied back to some kind of train depot or something to do with the train, because it was so big in our history. And Mom's, who was it?
My grandpa, your great grandpa.
Yeah, he worked on the railroad, so my grandma would tell stories of riding in the caboose as a little girl.
Yeah.
So it's just so neat to see that, because you don't see caboose anymore. It's all electronic.
Oh yeah. No, I go, where's the caboose? And because I just loved it, because when Bill was there, he'd get a telegram and he'd put the arm out, the arm and the conductor at the caboose. If they weren't stopping, he'd just go through and he'd hook that on the that message on his arm, and they'd go on, and oh yeah, and every once in a while he'd let us. We could do that, stick it out there so they could catch it. But just a minute. Now this was added later on, and things were in blocks now. That Hicks block, that is a section over between northeast of Rhinebeck, or east of Rhinebeck a little bit, and where a couple, I think, trains cross Rock Island or whatever with different ones. And that was the end of the Green Mountain block. Now, I'm going to tell you, south of Green Mountain and in between Gladbrook and Green Mountain in 1910 was the worst train disaster in the history of the state, and at the time the worst train disaster in the country. It was a rainy night or something, and a train was going. It'd be south of 96, west of Gladbrook, and then down about 2-3 miles. There's a marker there now. But they were backing up or something, and the train fell off the tracks. Do you know the story, Bob, or Art?
I don't know what happened,
but like 50, yeah, 50.
Right on
Yeah, it's right out there by Alice and around there.
Or her folks' farm.
Right. There's a deal, and so that happened out there, and 50-some people died. Well, back then everything was boxed. In 1910, all the cars were made of wood. You didn't have too many steel structures. So yeah, if you go, is it Zeller Avenue?
What's that?
It's Zeller Avenue. Zeller Avenue west of Gladbrook, and you go down 2-3 miles.
Denise said.
Am I right?
2 miles.
You guys know that?
2 miles west.
Yeah.
And then about a mile south.
Yeah, and you can see there's a little stone there, and for a long time. So and that was in 1910. So, but I don't understand the blocks how they did that. My neighbor, he was telling me so. But we think that is probably, that's like a 69, 70, but that's probably in the 80s and stuff. So okay. Okay, now this one, yeah. This is what you call the old, what everybody grew up in. This is a Great Western train. And looking again, and this guy took, I think he probably just sat there for a while and took pictures. But that's the, they had the dark red was the Great Western. And that's what my model train is the dark red. So but just look how many there was 1, 2, 3, at least 4 engines there, and yeah, and they needed that many sometimes to get up that hill, because you stand at that corner and you can see how the grade was really high there in town. Okay, let's put this one up. Okay, now this is when Bob and Art were terrorizing Lincoln.
The red engine.
This is the way Lincoln looked back then. Okay, this was the depot sitting right here, and then through and everything. This was this farm up. Now I can't. I gotta back up. And the upper left, that was a farm, and there's just one silo, so that's got to be. I think that's the one in the bank.
You lived on that farm?
Yeah, from Dad, Mom and Dad moved in 60 to 70.
Graveyard, or was that
Graveman.
Graveyard.
Yeah. Well, it looked like a graveyard.
Yeah.
Because when we moved there, yeah, that up there, thank you. Who has that?
Graveman.
Who?
Gene Graveman.
Oh, you got it, okay. So yeah, Gene Graveman. But yeah, so that's where I was born. And the day this guy that was aerial photography, he was at the co-op, and I said, oh, you got pictures? Oh yeah, where you live? Well, he showed me. I said, you got one of the farm up here? Yeah, he showed me. I said, come with me. So he came, and I said, Dad, I said, this guy, and yeah, Mom had passed, but anyway, he sat in our dining room, and he did a picture of that. $500 later, 2 hours later, and $500, we bought that, and he had it, and then they painted all the colors on it. So
what year was that? That was taken in the 60s.
That was in the early 60s.
Yep.
I think the early 60s, Bob. Yeah.
Because there was still a John Deere dealership right there.
Yeah, the John Deere dealership was right there.
In Lincoln.
The deal. Harold Ellis had all this. The deal.
Is that the Ambets?
Yeah,
Well,
well, it was before '64 because
Okay.
the new building wasn't built.
Okay.
This is the old part.
Yeah.
And yep, just down the course you can't see it.
Where's the tavern?
The tavern would have been right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I own the old bank. That's where I own the old. I own it. I don't bank. I own a redemption center, so that's where I have that.
Carmen.
And
Oh, there you go. That's where you can take your cans down.
yeah, but then it'll come down. Then he probably
Those are
won't
both
start
ours.
talking. But
But now lefties is on the right.
yeah, and then right here was the other restaurant.
On the right.
The beauty shop was there. This is Jip's store. Now Jip's store it was called Willison and Jip Mercantile. And she probably had, it was on the east wall, she had more fabric than anybody. Am I correct? Right, Bob? Remember all the fabric?
Unbelievable.
And she would sit there, and she was Hazel Jip, and I called her the first lady of Lincoln. Short little lady, and Emil was an old Navy, World War I Navy veteran. And
Oh, he was a veteran of World War I.
I'm pretty sure.
Hazel and Jip.
Hazel Jip, and very devout Christian lady. And Bob grew up in our church too. And but no, that store had anything, and then we also had another one, Scary's grocery store next to Schmitty's there.
Yep.
Which later on Uncle Leon bought for his implement business. But yeah, we had a very like I said, when Bob was growing up, you could get anything and everything. Wenzine's Hardware, they had anything and everything.
That's up the top.
And that was it. That was up here. The gas station was up here. So, but everything relied on the railroad. Everything came through the railroad. Post office. And Sal Scary said, I remember getting all the grocery items from there. We depended on the railroad, and tell you the truth, I just wish we had more of them back, but because it was just neat. So, but you can imagine my brothers, they'd hear the train, they'd go out, and we had a pasture over here, and they'd get on top of that wagon, and they'd work. And one time Dad saw the engineer, he said, hey, he says, are the boys okay? They go, he says, why? He says, well, they're not. He says, well, he said, no, they're in school again. So, but yeah, and if that place could talk, oh my gosh. Well, we were the only farm on town, so if someone was bored, they came out there, we played in the hay mow, and
no, you put pennies on the railroad track.
Pennies on the railroad track? Oh, yeah.
Oh, we used to do that.
Did you do that here too, right?
Oh, yes. Okay.
So I like that proximity for Art to go on his teenage beer runs.
Yo, you bet. Okay. Now, I can't tell you this is early. This was one taken from the northwest, from the northeast. This was the at the old elevator there on the south, to the south there. So nothing was built. So this is in, oh, it did say. Is there a date on this somewhere? No, I thought it was on. No.
That old Berlin sign would be very valuable.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, Berlin. So I think 1912, I think Tony said early 1900s there. So, and that's the way it was, and
There's
Yeah,
electrical.
that sign would be valuable right now.
yeah, there's electric, yeah, so there's tons of that, so.
Or telegraph, yeah.
Telegraph.
That's
What'd I
why
say?
it's not electric.
Telegraph.
Telegraph
Okay.
pole.
Where we at? Okay.
You just
Not
get-
too far
Did
behind
you
Bob.
show me? No.
Nope.
Now, this one, it's out there, but just an old one back in the
That's old.
turn of the century.
Yeah.
Still to, as you can see, I don't think a water tower was there. Doesn't look like it. So it was in its heyday right there. And I think I got that picture in one of my others. You can show that. Okay, this is the way it looked, a common Saturday in Berlin. Now in Lincoln back in the day, there was a thing called Kinderfest. And it was just an old German custom, and Bob, I'm sure you were in the parade. All the kids would line up and walk
I
down.
don't remember that.
And walk down Main Street. And so yeah, and this was just a common Saturday in Berlin. So this had to be before 1920, and I think this building, there was a fire on Main Street at one time, because here's the old grocery store, and I think, yeah.
Well, they had it back when I was a kid, but I don't remember it.
Yeah. So, and because that's about where, oh my God, jeez. So anyway, okay, that's that picture.
Joe, did you ever work on them old wooden buildings? You know, I remember when they built them, boy, it took a tremendous amount of lumber. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Oh.
Just show
Yeah.
that.
And then they glued every joint and then nailed
Okay.
it.
I don't know if you can see this, but
We
somewhere
built one in Shellsburg.
somewhere
You did.
in here
Inch and a half at a
is some of Bob's relatives. I know Uncle Leon's in there, and you probably have several relatives, but this was in, and I'm going to say this, in Lincoln we also had a thing called the Community House. It was the Presbyterian log church built in 1920. we had the Evangelical and the Presbyterian church. Well, the Presbyterians built this log church in 1920, and it was built all of logs, and on there, it was a basketball court too. On the floor was the basketball court, had 2 hoops on one side, balcony in the top, and that's where the Presbyterians meet. Then when the Evangelicals and the in the late 30s joined, then they met in the log church in the summertime and the other church in there. But yeah, people would come from all over to play basketball in there. That was taken down about the same time in 1976. And part of it is in Delvin Harms from Rhinebeck built a house, but it was a very unique building, wasn't it, Bob?
What's that?
The log church.
Oh, the log cabin?
Yeah, a lot of functions were in there. People would have plays in there like this, you know, play ball in there, suppers.
Played a lot of basketball there on a Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon. People would come from Grundy, right? You know, because back then, you know, you didn't have open gyms. And there was a little space heater up in the corner, and that's the only thing. I remember going down at nights, going down to play, put my basketball in the sack. By the time I got there, I'd bounce the ball and it'd just go flat because it was so cold. But,
we don't eat it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Old
little space heater.
Wood burner in the basement, but nobody ever fired it up.
Yep.
There's a little hole down the ground.
Yep. So, but, and
they had enormous logs made. These are, I don't know where they get them logs from, but they were big logs, and they were names on them. Yeah. It's a shame that who got that log cabin?
Well, it was torn down. Delvin Harms from Rhinebeck got it, and he made a little house. Delvin Harms.
He bought it, took it down.
He bought it and took it down, and that was sort of a sad day. Termites were starting to get into it. I have several of the. Okay, we've already seen that one. Some of these, I think.
Lincoln didn't have enough money to save that stuff.
Okay, I think this picture here, and this is one. This is just a section at a washout down at Gladbrook. Now, there was a train coming from the east in Gladbrook, and then our line 2, the Great Western. I think they were both Northwesterns, but one came from the east, one from the west. One track is just north of our football field there in Gladbrook right now, and the other line, the Great Western's the one right across there. The other one headed to Beeman and went up that way, Whitten and that way. But this was a washout down at Gladbrook in there. So,
is that the depot behind there?
yeah, that's the depot right there, and I think Tony said that's the Great Western Depot.
That's a Gladbrook.
Yeah, and I think the one's still in town. So
I didn't smoke in that one.
yeah, Bart didn't smoke in that one.
I didn't drink beer there either.
So anyway, this is facing
too close to the folks.
North of Gladbrook. I don't know what year, but probably early 70s. I would like to, you know, and with the V-plow on it, and if you're north of Gladbrook, Art and Bob, just around the corner when you're going up the hill north of Gladbrook, where the track was, this is just a little bit where Denny Ginger built his house, and across there,
yeah, right
just to the north of there. So that's where that was. Now I remember back in '73, the great April snowstorm of '73. We all can remember that, I hope. But anyway, I remember the train coming through, and we could hear it. And I remember in the window at the farm, Dad says, "Oh, here comes a train," and you could just see that thing. Oh my gosh, you couldn't even see the train because it was just, you know, we had what? How many feet and what? Just over, and it was thick. Oh my God, it was just amazing. But
Going to school for quite a while.
yeah, no, it was a full week.
Well, there's a trestle right there by Hasselman's too.
Yeah, and by Gladbrook,
That's
yeah, there's
gone now, isn't it?
yeah, they took that. It's been gone several years. but a trestle there, and yeah, it's sort of neat to go by. And the one south of Gladbrook, out by Hoppy's there, behind Hoppy's, Bob, you know, where Hoppy's there to the west, it's still there. That trestle's still there. Now here's the neat thing about it, trains. You know, do you ever get on a train track? How far can you go on that rail? How far could you go on that? As kids, okay, our goal was to go from Main Street to the blacktop. Oh God, we, you know, see how far we could go. And then once or twice a year, a bunch of us, half dozen of us, we'd get our backpacks on and we'd hike down the deal all the way to the trestle, about 2 miles. We'd be down there pretty much the whole day. Well, then we'd say, well, let's go low, let's go. We followed the creek and we'd end up 3-4 miles. Folks would come, well, you have a nice day, yeah. Okay, it wasn't, oh, where are you at, where you at, where's my kid at? They knew we were okay, you know, but one day we were down there and we got back into town and we put something on we go, oh, let's put this piece of metal on the track, you know, see if it flattens out or whatever. Well, we got back in the town and they go, what's all the commotion? Well, there's a train derailment. I go, where at? South of town. We go, oh guys, don't say anything. You know, and they go, okay, God, that wouldn't have done it, would it? And I go, where did that happen? We go, no, that was farther south. That wasn't a good one. We also had one north of town on Jensen's pasture there, just north of town a little bit, and one tipped over there back in the 70s too, I remember. But we've had one person was killed on the hit the train. Several have hit the train. You probably know a few people might have hit the train. So, but we did have one young.
You guys don't remember the hot boxes? The hot boxes, you remember that, don't you?
No.
Well, they didn't have roller bearings. They had drip with foam, or they had some kind of a membrane in there that would drip oil on the bearing. Yeah. And once in a while the bearings would go out and they'd start that stuff on fire.
Yeah.
So they'd pull them off the side, then the fire truck would have to come put them out.
Yep. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, they just put the car off. You know, on the side. They call them hot boxes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We've got a pretty neat, I'm sure Joe's been there. Rugman Park outside of town heading towards Fairbank. If you walk the tracks a little ways, we always call it the Frog Pond. And you sit on it's just a little short run with the trestles. Yeah. As a kid, it was pretty neat. Oh yeah. And the one in the park still up.
Oh yeah. Well, just show that. And some of these are, okay, that's just an early picture there in Lincoln, and I think, okay, that's where Wenzine's would be, because Bob, here's the old church down here, the old white church, the old evangelical.
There's your farm in the background.
Yep, the farm in the background. So yeah, I really never. So yeah, that was Wenzine's Hardware, and that was one of the oldest hardware stores in Indian. And back in 08 or 09, this Trent had a fire in there, and it didn't go all the way down, but a lot of it, and they had stuff. Am I right, Bob?
Yes.
It was loaded with stuff. And antiques, oh yeah. But anyway, a lot of it was saved, and we cleaned it out, and it was rather a sad day to sit there. But Trent tore it down. He had a sale. He had for like 2 weeks people coming in, putting it on wagons. He had 25, 30 wagons on Main Street, and he sold all that stuff just to get rid of it. And he put a brand new building, and he's out of the plumbing and stuff, and he farms now. But that was a very very interesting store. So, but okay, I had this picture. Was there another? Oh yeah, and I think I think we've already shown that one.
Okay.
Didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just a little better picture, but there's there was where's my book?
They're waiting to get on the train.
like I say, our, here's one. And our church has some very, very neat history, and a lot of it. Oh, that's that picture. Oh, Bob will remember this one.
What's that?
Look at that, Bob. You didn't go to school because you went to country school where?
Is that the Lincoln School?
Yeah, that was the Lincoln School. Yours was where from your place? Your country school.
Oh, it was east of Wayne Sienknecht.
Oh, okay. You were about by Jim Hooper.
Mile south of where I lived, and about a mile west.
Right. You never went there though.
1 year.
Oh, you did.
1 year, and then you went to Gladbrook.
Yeah, my dad said, well, all you kids need to go to country school 1 year.
No, your dad would say,
he
you
did.
need to go to school at least once you want.
No, he said, well, you need to go to country school 1 year to learn how it was. And we did. 1 year, and then they closed it.
Oh, they did close it out?
Yeah.
Oh. Mm-hmm. So they thought, well, okay, we've had Bob, that's it. No. So yeah, this was our school, and then
How many went to a country school?
No, I was in first grade or
Did you go to country
kindergarten.
school?
How many of you guys went to country school?
Okay, Art, we're gonna interview you with that one, and Bob, we're gonna interview you.
1 year.
1 year. Where was your?
Southern Iowa, Corden.
Corden, you were down there, okay.
Yeah.
Then when did you move up?
Outside of Corden.
When did you move up to Gladbrook then?
Oh, I was probably in 5th grade.
Oh, okay.
When you started drinking.
Shortly
I
after.
had to find somebody else.
But anyway, this was our old school. It was torn down in like '62. I think the last year was '61. But
I thought it was brick.
nope, it was wooden.
It was wood. Okay.
It was wood. First grades were in and then the upper grades were in the top. And at one time it went through 8th grade. But at the end, I think maybe just the 5th grade.
They didn't go very far.
No, but it was torn down. It's about where our shelter house is now. And
So Teresa, June, when you guys did like your school research, I don't know if I've ever seen, because I haven't really researched a lot, a 2-story old schoolhouse. Is that pretty rare?
yeah.
That's what Dunkerton had.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
The
across the road
school
from the
before
current.
1921 was
Where was it at?
Across the road, I understand.
Larry Fisher,
Yeah.
his church.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Does that say 12 there?
It looks like it.
So that was in 1912. So yeah, so that was torn down, and old people, oh, we should have kept it, but how do you know on the upkeep and at the time, like with any old building, you know, it's hindsight.
Well, there isn't any houses around there then, was there?
No, well, back then, no, because
Top of the hill.
this would have been, this was facing west, if I remember right. That was facing west because, well, the others could have been. So, well, we're, didn't Arlo build his house there? Or was that bought when him and?
Yeah, they built
that one where
on the east side.
Right. Or an Opal.
I'm not sure if that is looking east.
Yeah, that's looking east, so that would have been the back.
Yeah.
Joel, wasn't the Doer, was that 2-story?
Yeah,
That's
and it still exists.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
just what I asked Art.
Yeah,
South
on the
of town.
south of town, up on the hill.
That was a school?
Yep.
On the hill there?
Yeah.
And some of Rob's sisters went to that one. It was, yeah.
Show these now.
Rob missed it by 2 or 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay, we had a unique history even in our church, and I know I'm talking about other things in the depot, but anyway, this church, when they put the evangelical and the Presbyterian church together, there was a church down in Crystal Township, down southeast of Gladbrook, that had been with a presbytery that was sitting vacant. It was called Salem Church down there too. So they said, well, so they moved that to Lincoln, and I would guess from Crystal's, 10 miles, 10, 12, would you guess somewhere around, Bob? So yeah, it was moved, and they had to go through fields and everything. This was the back side, that was the main part.
We had a similar story. Our Baptist church came into town from the north, about 2 miles. Yep.
Yeah.
They had to wait for it to freeze.
See, and don't ask me where this is coming from, where it's at, but they just had some county had a cat or something, but someone said, oh, look, underneath there, they're trying to keep it, or maybe this is where the cribbing gave way and they almost lost it. So maybe this is where.
He's walking underneath.
Yeah. So he's doing something. I don't know what happened, but they said about, and this was in 1940. 1940, they moved the church in, and I think it was dedicated in 42.
Was it fun driving that cat?
That's a big building.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing how they used to do things. I think that's pretty much my pictures I have. There's with the depot. There's a store here, and I'm leaving one of these. I think back there. I'm leaving that with you guys.
Thank you.
It's our Centennial book, made in 1983, but I have it, and there's several pictures. They covered the deal. Town is named. The railroad as it is in Nellie Gebers, she wrote that. There's also about 15-mile grove there. But she talks about the daily trains. You know, how many trains came through, 2, 3, maybe 8 trains a day came through town. And it's just...
Was there any record of the orphan train stopping there?
The orphan trains, that's interesting. I don't know. That would be something to see if that's a... Who did that? What's her name? Pippa White? Pippa White? Through, isn't she Humanities Iowa? She gives on the orphan train. I think she did programs on the orphan trains. And you might want to write her name down. I think it's Humanities Iowa. What's the guy that does the Teddy Roosevelt? What's his name? Draper? He does the Teddy Roosevelt, and this is years ago too. But
weren't you able to speak, not necessarily orphan, but if you wanted to send like your baby to like your aunts for a little bit, wouldn't they ship them?
Yes.
On the train?
Yes, they would put, because I think that's mentioned there. The kids would go, and here's
Good question.
Yeah, some of the things that happened on trains back then. Salesmen came, and they had trunks and trunks of stuff. They had, they hold the livestock and everything. They said 4 or 5 trains, two passenger trains a day. Okay, there are times we had great crowds going to basketball games. Sick people were put in a baggage car. They remember J.D. Willison, which was Hazel Gyp's dad, was taken to Marshalltown before Marlis and Maxine. Remember the twins? Marlis and Maxine Willison?
No, I don't.
Okay, they were the twins, and they were born, they went to their Ben Lauterbach, which would be Orville's dad,
Could be.
I think. He was, they took him by train to places, so it's just, but you guys can go through that. There's, here. Can you get that one on? That top picture. Now this is the main room, the middle room. I don't.
There we go.
That's what we need.
That and you can see it better in the picture. But you could see Jack was sitting there, and I think it was Dick Billerbeck, Dick Billerbeck was Maxine Berry. Oh yeah, D.P. Billerbeck, 1920. So and you see here, the stove was right here. I think that's a stove. And look at all the papers and everything that they had. And but now when I was there, Bill Eyes, he was at the window there, and that'll probably need to be.
I wish that was in color because those windows look like they have some shades, and the shades are still there. They're all tore up now, but it's
Oh,
still
yeah.
got half shades hanging there. In that
Oh, I'm sure
Which
there.
way was that facing?
The other picture.
This was west.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
This was straight west. That's facing west. And, yep, spent we'd sit there and old Jay would come in and sit in the chair right here. And we were sort of honored at Jay, the section guy. We'd come in, we'd hide behind, we'd squirt him with water and, oh God, and Bill said, you guys leave Jay alone. And we tormented him a little bit, but he'd give it right back, and then he'd give us rides. I don't know why, but.
Teresa, can you put the other picture up with you guys inside?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it shows some old, it might not be the same. Oh, no, they must have fallen
No.
down. Behind the picture on the
hangers might
upper
be.
left.
But what is it? What's this right here? Now I'm going to be going out there.
It's just a wall.
Oh, just the wall.
It's an opening that I think was added.
Oh, that's
I think there should have been a solid wall.
That goes to
The freight room.
the freight room.
The picture on the right shows looking into that big opening.
Now, yeah, the freight room. See, that was always going to be if we were going to move it back, I had it all sketched out. That was where I was going to keep the historical files. I was going to have a table. People wanted to come in and things like that. Maybe a restroom back there. Oh, I had it all figured out. The only problem I didn't have was the most important thing. Money.
That was going to be my lawnmower garage.
Yeah, now the door's pretty well intact. And he says that a guy from Mid-America or something bought the signs.
Yeah,
No,
tell the
it was-
story about the signs.
Yeah, it was the dumbest thing I ever did. We were gonna.
Well, I might second one.
I'm his mom, I could second that.
My wife at the time, I bought the house and I met my wife and we got married. So she's a city girl. So she's from upstate New York, like Rochester area. So she didn't grow up in rural, and I didn't either. I guess I'd call Dunkerton. It's kind of whatever. It's not a big city, but and we had two little girls and we had one on the way. And I used to ride my bikes all over town, and these Judy, her kids, and we'd be out all day, and Art's kids, and so I wasn't used to having the kids not being able to get out and ride their bikes because we live a mile outside of town. And the semis go by so fast, and I don't want them on the road. So, anyways, we looked into town, and I was like, we're doing it backwards. Usually, you retire onto an acreage, but now I had one, and now okay, you want to move into town. So, she won the argument, and so we were looking at houses in town. Well, we had a realtor come out, and he said, "Hey, those signs aren't going to make or break your sale." And like an idiot, he goes, I'm the idiot, he's not him. He said, "Hey, I'll buy them for you for like $150. I'm like, all right. I didn't care, I was selling the house. So, and then luckily we ended up keeping the house. But I do have somewhere at home, it was the Century, whatever, the gold, whatever, advertising, whatever you call it, their label, brand. I know what it is, and I have his information at home, and I'll try my best to see if we can get those signs back, and see if he would donate them back or sell them for what I sold them to him. But that was probably 2008, 2009.
Oh no, because when we came in 2012, they were still.
Oh, they
there.
were, okay.
That's what Richard said.
Okay.
Richard Ellis. You remember Richard Ellis? Yeah, Richard Ellis. Yeah. Yeah, he came up with Dad and me that day.
He might have been right.
Of course, he's an engineer. He wanted to take it down and move it.
Oh, he did.
I said, no, Richard, we're not going. Oh, well, I think that'd be then we'll label everything. No, we're not doing that either.
Well, luckily.
Hey, by the way, go ahead.
No, it's kind of a long story, so you go ahead.
Well, I was just reading in here in the book. It said there was 4 floors underneath this when they got ready to move the Lincoln Depot. That's what this says here. It says there was 4 wooden floors they found dating back to 1880 underneath that.
Our Bennington had 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the only thing I remember is, it was really humped. Yeah, well, there's no base. There's no base. There's no base.
This one you can see in the top left picture, right underneath that the wall there, you can see kind of some gray. Well, the red is like a indoor-outdoor carpet.
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
And I didn't know what was underneath it. I thought it was gonna be wood, but it's pretty solid. So I peeled it back, and it's got a cement slab underneath it, the whole thing.
Right.
But I'm afraid that, knowing Willie, he put the depot in the dirt, and then he just poured cement around, so that, you know, I mean, it's not gonna take much, cut that little section of wall out of the bottom, and then he poured a sidewalk around it.
Yeah.
Well, I know the southeast corner is kind of slipping in, but it's been that way since I bought it, you know, so it was just, so hopefully, yeah, I don't believe there's any foundation under it or anything like that, so it'll be.
Yeah, and I don't know what, and when I go out there, I'll do, but,
Yeah, and anytime you just swing by for a
well, I
moment.
think I'm gonna go out there if anybody else wants to go out there too, and
And just so you know, we got the dumpster in the driveway now, as of yesterday, to start cleaning it out.
okay.
So one thing we would really like you to do is we want to restore it the way it was.
Right.
So the room that you go in, I mean, what was in there?
Well,
exactly.
I would anticipate you used to have, and you can see like in some of your depots, they have those rounded, it was like a rounded bench, and I visualize it, but to tell you, you had benches, and I think they were just on the south wall and stuff like that. That was a waiting
Like
room.
a church pew bench?
Well, similar to something like that. You know, they're sort of rounded, and they, you know, you can look at some of the older.
And then you had your ticket window.
Ticket window, yeah.
Okay, and then we have the picture of the middle now.
And yeah, and I think there's a window on that side, I think. In the middle room, there's a window on the east side, right?
No, there's just a
Just
window
a
here
wall.
on the
Pretty
top
much,
left.
yeah.
Oh, okay. But on the east, there's no.
No, there's a opposite of this. There's a single window.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And then in the storage room or
It's like the one down in the bottom left.
the baggage room,
Your north
that's
side.
just nothing. But that's something where you could, like I said, you could put something in there. That isn't. Maybe you'd want to put get an old cart or put some baggage on it or something. And
Oh, the one picture's invaluable that showed everybody sitting there.
Yes.
I've never seen that before. That's
Yeah,
kind of neat.
that's-
How there's just stuff in there.
yeah. So, but no, I as I said earlier when I started, and you guys have, and I'm going to leave you guys a donation. I'm going to give you $500 today.
Wow,
for,
thank you.
And then when it's we get it completed, a dedication, I'll probably give you another $500. So, but when I first said to Teresa, the signs are gone, I want those signs back on. That's
Yep.
my one request. And whatever you do, and I'm going to be working. And as you guys come, maybe I'll take a day. If you guys, I'll come up. And I'm not a carpenter or anything, but it's joys and concerns. When Teresa said they were moving it in, I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "What a deal!" And I said, "And thank to Bob and memory of Atlas."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's tremendous.
It takes a village.
Oh,
Really.
it does, and
Connections.
and it really, you know, if one of you guys up here in Dunkerton would have done it, you know, given a donation like Bob is doing, it wouldn't have been a big deal. So that morning in church, I said, "Hey, I got a joy." I said, "I've been in contact with Teresa up at Deal." I said, "They're going to be moving the depot in," and I said, "One of our very own is giving the money to have it moved in." So I said, his cousin Doug, I says, "Doug, you better thank your cousin." "Oh, okay." So, but no. So that's just a small. It's going to take quite a bit, and you guys have been working with your grants and everything. And there's going to be a timeline with it, and when it is, I'll be glad to come back up. I might even here's another thought. I sing in a gospel group, and I'd be willing to bring my group up here in one of your church settings, and you could have a fundraiser for it, and all the free will donation would go towards the depot. So, and it, not this fall, but maybe next spring or something. So yeah, and I already told the guys, I said I may have something in Dunkerton for us.
Okay.
So you guys pick a church, there's 8 of us, and we sing old time gospel, and I hate to tell you this, huh?
It's probably really good to listen to.
Well, yeah, well, we used to sing, I used to sing what's called Interfaith Men's Course, and we sang for 25 years, and 10 years ago, and there was 36 of us, 30 some of us.
So is that how you met Joey? Was that Wartburg?
No, I knew,
maybe.
yeah. But, and then about 2-3 years later, a couple guys, hey, let's get together and just sing. Well, and we started, and we go and sing out, so 8-10 times a year, different places. And whenever we sing out, we have a fundraiser. We did one up by Fern, north of Grundy one time, for a girl. She, the minister's daughter was going to have a kidney transplant out in California. We said, well, they'll donate. By the end of the night, they had all sorts of dinner, a raffle, $10,000 is raised.
Wow.
And that'd be great if we could do that here, but, so no, it's just something, and I enjoy doing it. And I hate to tell, I'll give you fair warning, I'm the one that does most of the talking, so. And I don't read music, I don't read music, but I'm the one that sort of directs. I just stand off to the side and direct. But is there any questions and or something? And I appreciate Art, and especially Bob and your girls coming today, and a lot of good memories. I mean, the family, Bob's family goes way back. If you read in the deal, there's names in that book that were at 15 Mile Grove that were very prominent families. And yeah, like I said, his Uncle Leon was my neighbor, and yeah, many a night, yeah, they call, Mary Lou would call and say, Gail, we're coming over. This was at 9 o'clock. Mom would go, we're just ready to go to bed. It'd be midnight, and Uncle Leon would be sitting back there in a chair, white mouth. He'd be sleeping, and Mary Lou and Dad would, oh yeah. So a lot of good memories, and so yeah, yeah. This is Bob's name, and then down with Alice's family down there, and they got good news down in their area down there. They lost their church, Chapel Church, 5 years ago to a fire, and here a week ago they're going to rebuild their church down there. So that's quite a deal down there. So
Who's that?
So do you guys have any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to. And I'll leave, and there's one of our old, what was that?
Oh, I was passing that around.
Oh.
That's a timetable
Oh,
of the Chicago Great Western.
oh, okay. And that's yours to keep here. I don't know, Bob, if you ever had one of it. Did you ever get one of our Centennial
No,
books?
I did
Do you
not.
think Alice got
And the
one?
cup is theirs too. I got all our Centennial stuff, so.
I don't think
So the cup, you guys can stay, and,
My son-in-law's got one down there, but he won't give it up.
yeah. Now the little depot, the little depot here, that's the actual model of our depot. So, and,
Oh, wow.
so my neighbor builds, he builds a lot of those, and that's the way it looks, except it had a green roof. So I
And the
mean,
roof underneath the metal.
I
Yeah,
can
you
change
See it
that.
roll
Yeah.
over the edge.
yeah, it rolled over. So
Was the roof on? Did you put the roof on? Did
no, the roof was on. I think someone said
before you
that.
moved it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it was after he moved it in place, and if they moved it in sections, I think they must have stuck the roof back on and then metal
Yeah.
over it. Because it was weird when we first bought the place. You know, we got the assessors, the Blackhawk County, and it said, "This corner of your property is zoned commercial." We're like, "What the heck for?" Well, Willie was going to sell. Willie Bandfield was going to sell antiques.
Yeah.
There's actually, I think there's a handwritten sign still in there saying antiques for sale or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he had, everything was so run down, and there was 2 big machine sheds near the gravel
Yeah.
road,
Yeah.
full of antiques, wood, but the roofs were gone when we bought it, and everything was just waterlogged and just rotted. Same with the depot, there was hardly anything in there. There was a couple, and they're beautiful. I think one of the shells is still there, one of those beautiful old radios that you saw in the living rooms, way back in the day. But it was like the waterlogged, it was, and it was just gone. And so it was just one of those things that was so run down. And we bought the place, what did I say, 2007. My dad owned the place my mom and dad owned the place across the road, so I was always over at Willie's, because he would, hey, come on over here, I smoked some catfish, try this, you know. And then he'd show us the new scars on his arms because he raised emu, and so they were mean and they'd attack him. And he had all kinds of exotic animals. I think we burned down 9 buildings when we bought the place because it was just it was run down.
Wow.
And the bonfire was humongous. But anyways, we were so we bought the place, and
That means I shop the home.
like I said, you know, when my dad had the place across the road. When did he buy that? When I was in junior high, maybe. It was quite a few years ago. We'd always look at the depot, and it was just the coolest thing ever. You know, depot sitting in the middle of there's no train tracks near it.
No tracks around.
No tracks around it. And I thought it was the coolest thing. And then when we bought the house, I still see it fixed up. I look at it and I see it done
The pink things are.
and painted, you know, the burgundy and the yellow brackets or whatever. And I see that, and it's bittersweet for us because it's like, I don't want it to run down. I don't want it to fall down. And like I said, half the windows are gone when we bought it, and it was a beautiful structure. I mean, it built because it's still standing the test of time at
1883. You're looking at how many?
It says 1900, I think. So the county's ripping me off a little bit, but or maybe they're saving money on taxes. But anyways, I can see it done. So then that's when we said, okay, let's try to donate it back to your brother. And then he said, we just don't have the money. I was just going to give it to him because I wanted to see it fixed up and beautiful again. And
we looked at it, and
and
it was a dream.
What's the Heritage Place in Independence with the right off the interstate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so somebody came around. He was an aerial photographer, and he was trying to sell me a picture. And I said, well, this is my family legacy here, so I didn't really want to spend $1,000 on a picture, you know. And we're still fixing the place up, but it was, you know, it took me 3 years to be able to mow it because Willie was a hoarder.
Yeah.
And he kept everything. But anyways, so then he said, hey, we might want this because it's a big part of our, you know, heritage in Iowa, and we might want it. He goes, I got an investor. Can you come out and look at it? And this guy showed up, and he didn't say a word. He got back in his car and left, and the guy said he's going to pay for it to move. And we're like, great. And then money fell through. He didn't do it. Well, then so that was the rural water, or Lincoln. We tried to give it back to, try to donate to the heritage, and then Bob Molds looked at it. He wanted to buy it for his Christmas tree farm. Just put it on part of his village. But he thought it would be too much to move it way out there. Not worth just the structure, and he'd have to fix it up. You know, it's money. Well, then my brother's Dan, he's still like
He's the president.
The president, right? So my brother, he's retired. He's got time. And so he's the president here, and he's like my dad. He's a man of few words, and I told him one day, I knew we were doing the village, and you guys are doing the village, and I said, hey, why don't you guys come and get the depot? Not because I want to get rid of it. That's totally opposite. I want to see it fixed up, and I just didn't have the money or the time to do it. And so he said, oh, and he kind of nodded. Well, then like 2 or 3 weeks later, I think Julie put something on Facebook, and it said, you or somebody did, put something on Facebook, and it said, hey, we're getting 2 schools and a depot, and I was like, oh. So that was my cue. I guess they want it. So I texted my brother, and he's like, yeah, we'll take it. That was a couple of years ago, I think, that we were going to try to move it. Maybe it was last year, and then it kind of fell through, and they didn't get the footings and everything. And you know, we had to take time for the grants, and the work that these guys have put in is just amazing. The time and effort. And then the grants, and then the place, and then moving the other schools first, and then getting money to move it, because, you know, like you said, probably the expense is the power lines. And then they'll have to brace the heck out of it, because, you know, it's just a shell right now. Mm-hmm. So we don't want it to fall over when you pick it up either. And then it's like, okay, how are they going to get it out? You can't go this way, you know, this way. And then it was, well, when they take the crops out, we'll go out to Farm Drive, which is just basically what would be east of the place. Yeah. And so that would be good. And I think the people from the movers came out at least once and looked at it, and they said, yeah, it's doable. You know, they do it for a living. So
now, who's going to move it?
It's Furnow and Sons. Yeah. They're great.
Oh, he's out of Marshalltown.
Yes.
He's done your other ones?
They did both of the schools, yeah.
Yeah, they're
and they're very professional and very.
And another big piece is Wayne McGee oversees that, and it happens.
Yeah, Wayne came out and looked at it too, and he's like, okay, it's going to be this year yet. So I'm like, all right. And then Dan's like, well, just keep an open mind. It may not happen. And then he texted me a week ago, and he said it looks like maybe the first week of November they're going to target. And so then, yeah, so.
Get the ground froze and get down.
Yep.
Well, that's what I said too. I got a lot of my dad in me. It's like, oh, these ruts in my yard. I remember my dad growing up, look at all those ruts. It's like his favorite word in his yard. I'm like, who's going to take care of the yard? And Dan goes, we'll take care of it. So I can see him out there with the rake and a shovel by himself sitting on my yard. But no, it should be good. And then, yeah, like I said, we tried to, we don't want it to go. I mean, to be honest with you, full of transparency, we don't want to see it move. We want to fix it up in my yard, but it's like, I'm dreaming. I'll never get around to doing that. We had a 2-bedroom house with 4 kids, you know, and my wife said that house comes first, and then I always complain because I don't have a garage and everything there, but the house, even the house probably should have been bulldozed, you know, when we bought the place, but we did what we could at the time. And so now we got 2 kids out and yeah, out of the house. So we'll probably build onto the house before we fix up the depot. So that's so far down the road, and you know, as every man, maybe woman too, I want a garage, I want some kind of shop. So it's like, the money's gonna go there first, and family first, and then the depot last, and then. So it's gonna be bittersweet, but it's gonna be amazing to see it fixed up.
We'll
Just
give you a free
beautiful.
lifetime pass. How about
Yeah.
See, that's what
I think that's everybody.
that's what the heritage thing said in Independence. We'll give you, what they said, we'll give you $500 and a lifetime pass to get into the museum. Well, then the next year it was, hey, it's free.
Yeah, it's a regular pass, regular anyway.
The guy was there to sell area photography is what it was, but no, we can't wait to see it fixed up, and like I said, it's gonna be, the barn was dilapidated too. We tore the barn down, so that whole side of our house is gonna be just like a big yard. So I'm gonna have to get a bigger mower, I think. And then Chris Gibson across the road, he's got like some kind of lawn conditioner on his skid loader that he said he's gonna come and he'll help us smooth it all out and you know, donate his time there. So just with the community stepping up, it's just been tremendous. We can't wait. I don't want it to move, but I can't wait to see it fixed up, and it's great how the donations and the work you guys do is just amazing. So we appreciate it as a community.
You bet. And like I said earlier, you guys here in town, and you know, and someone said where I met Joey Rigdon went to college with me at Wartburg and stuff, and so I wish the Godfather was here. If you'd have to ask him why they called him the Godfather. It isn't because of old school either, but yeah, Joe, and like I said, if you've ever wanted to hear someone sing the national anthem in the McLeod Center without a microphone and still be able to hear over everybody.
Yeah.
How long ago did you do that?
It's probably 10 years or so.
Amazing Grace.
Oh, just tremendous.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
And just as bubbly.
He was my classmate.
Yeah,
So
that's what.
And Joe, her husband.
He
Joey
sings
were
at
like-
all our
Yeah.
at all our weddings, and the funny thing is, we video, and there's always one kid that puts. He's just such a beautiful, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I could.
But
Wow,
so
you-
beautiful.
Yeah, and him and Christy just.
But I thought this would be interesting. So we all know who Dave is.
Right.
Unfortunately, guys.
Mike Wendell is my big connector of Boone, Iowa, you know, because they have
Yeah.
such.
Yeah.
He promised me to get, he's got a guy that really knows the Chicago Great Westerns really, really well. So he said I'll get his number, his name, and his email for you to work with him. And he is just, that happened this week, so he's reaching out. The 2 new ones that we added just from the last 3-day conference that we just went to in Council Bluffs are this. So Edwin did wonderful speaker. He said he'd be more than willing to come in and talk to us. This Kate has items. If we need anything, let her know. They've got, because people just give you things. So this is an awesome contact to have. Of course, Bob. Dennis is the one who brought the stuff on this table right here.
Oh, okay.
Just dropped it. I wish he could have been here today to kind of tell their story too, but this Tim Wren is something unbelievable that when we were at Council Bluffs, that they actually listen to your story and then come up with the actual designs of what, if you want kids to have hands-on, if you want, I mean, it can be from a 10,000 to what you give them, and they create and they tell your story. So I think we're gonna be working with Tim.
We're working on some worksheets that he handed out in his session and giving him the information. He's already emailed us after the conference
Are we
and
talking about displays for the
yeah,
depot?
displays
Like
inside.
In the
educational.
depot.
How to tell our story.
Very educational.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because we want our kids to know Dunkerton history. Iowa history, they get from their history teacher. Brian Brumgard's part of our board, Rhonda Rathy's part of our board, which she's a second grade teacher. But when we went to University of Toledo, Ohio, we ended up with a first grade, third grade, fourth grade, seventh grade program, and we'll just tweak what they do with their one-room schools. But then we can bring them across and explain why we're named Dunkerton, to let them know great-grandparents, and a lot of our parents went through one-room schools, and then into the museum for the rest of the story with country and Civil War vets and our history there. But to make the whole connection, our depot was so important, and we didn't have one, but now we do.
And it's a perfect size for the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get a bigger one.
And we talked about a welcome center with the depots, you know, a part of it being open so people could grab and see our churches, our business, you know, some of that information that they could just.
That could be that for that
Mhm.
waiting room.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can incorporate stuff there. You bet.
Mhm.
I told you guys about maybe I didn't tell all of you, like when we first bought it, I called it Iowa Historical Society or Historical Society of Iowa, however they're called. And I asked them about fixing it up. And they said, yeah, we would be more than willing to help you. It's going to take some paperwork because it was moved in the original site, but we'll fix it up. And at the time, you know, we just moved in and I had the two little girls and like we had one on the way. And they said the only problem is it'll be on a registry and everybody can come and look at it whenever they want. Because so I was like, oh. We didn't have another parking lot, you know, or another drive. It'd be our driveway. We'd get kids running around. And just one of those deals where just safety and just anybody and everybody kind of scared me, you know, because you never know these days. It's probably going to be people like us that are just really interested in the depot. It's not going to be anybody, you know, coming to cause problems. We're like, I didn't want somebody coming on the driveway, the kids running out, so we're like, so we kind of tabled it and just never got around to it. So they might be willing to help us too with a little bit, unless you've already reached out to them.
Historical running into trouble because we moved it. I mean, it's not on its original.
Well, that's what they told me too.
Yeah.
They said we would help you, like some funding or whatever, but they said it's going to take more paperwork.
Right.
And then that's when they said it's the other side.
So I did get, we are going to be able to get, she's kind of a museum egg, historical person, kind of all combined in one from the Des Moines area. That's going to reach out and come and help us, just because we don't have the museum or the historical background, so we need it. I mean, so
I'm just thinking more funding wise too, if they would help pay for something.
yeah. So, what other questions?
If you don't, guys, again,
I've got a couple memories of the train, wait till you get done coming through town when I was a kid.
Okay.
But no, I plan on going out there once we're done here, maybe look a little bit over there. But again, I thank you guys. I'll be, before I leave, remember I give my little donation, and we'll try and hunt up those signs. That would be neat if we could get them back. If not, we will have to do some reproduction somehow. But it's tremendous, and I applaud you guys for doing what you're doing. It's going to be a tremendous asset to your community. You know, you've done a lot of good things with your school over here. I wish I could have seen your old auditorium. I never got to see that. That was very.
Want some seats?
I,
She gets mad at me. I try to give them away, and she says you can't do that.
it wasn't that big, but it was very
I
iconic.
wish I would have grabbed some.
I've done a lot of work on them.
Yep.
No, you can't give my seats away.
We bought 3 rows.
We'll talk.
Just come and see me.
You got 3 rows.
We bought 3 rows.
So,
Oh, I remember that place.
Oh, I separated them all apart in 2s and 3s and 4s and put them together and put them on wood so they sat. Where they at? Down the shop upstairs.
Oh, yeah, there they are.
I didn't want them at home.
this
We need
is
them.
supposedly the
Yeah.
depot in
right, Joe,
Dinsdale, or recreation. And in
Lori's
Dinsdale,
husband.
was it a,
They're in Dunkerton, so we don't have to go very far. They're down at the shop.
because it's the same size. I
She
think
gets
it's
mad at me.
the
I try to give them
same.
away. I don't
All
want
right,
them.
Joe wanted to share.
Yeah.
The railroad coming to town when I was a kid. One of them you can't You can't do that. When I was 5 years old or 6 years old, we got in the depot down here at Dunkerton with my grandmother, and we went to St. Paul, Minneapolis to see her sister. And I don't remember much about the train ride, but I remember when we walked in the railroad depot, or the station, there was a great big steam locomotive engine sitting there. Just a monster.
Really?
It was pretty cool. Yeah, we jumped on, and I don't know how many hours it took, but I remember riding in the car, but not much other than that.
Your steam engine then?
No, there was a steam engine in the railroad station up there in St. Paul.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We went up there and stayed and came back. Now you gotta turn this off.
Okay.
I was gonna tell, but it's one of those Joe stories where you can't, well, I guess you can film it.
Oh, she's filming it.
You're filming it, so. No, when we bought the house, we have 2.5 acres now, but we had 5 acres because they broke up some of the farm ground. When I was gonna sell the house, my brother was gonna buy it. He didn't want the acres, so we sold it to the people who bought the rest of it. And then he decided he didn't want it, so it's another dumb move on my part. I wish I had the 2.5 acres back. But I was going, since we had the depot, and my wife isn't here to defend herself or yell at me, her name is Karen. And so, with a C, not like one of those Karens with a K. She always has to say. So I was going to, and I thought this would be the greatest thing ever, because I had a class when I was in college that said Iowa has like the best growing ground for grapes. So I thought it would be pretty cool to grow grapes, make our own wine. Then I told my wife, I'm going to put a train track right out in front. I'm going to put a caboose there, and we're going to call it Karen's Caboose Winery. So she's so glad that we're getting rid of the depot. That's not going to come into fruition, but yeah, that was one of my stories. I wasn't going to film it, but
It would have been neat, though. Here there was one. Okay.
So would there have been just a small door here?
There,
Yeah.
no, yeah, there's just a small door here.
Okay.
There's just a small door here, and I think, I want to say this door was not here. I think this was all one.
Yeah, that's.
So there's
what
just a
Scott
door
thought.
here, if I remember right. Yeah, I think there was just a small door there and a small door there, and then this was all, and yeah.
Look at here.
Because we were kind of comparing the woodwork and the difference in
See,
those.
that is,
I like this stuff.
Yeah.
what's that, John?
And the lights?
Yeah, that should be. No, this, yeah, I didn't realize how high the ceiling was now. If you wanted to, you could.
Yeah. Julie's found some online. 10 foot, Julie.
10 foot for the for the
Found
bench.
some benches. We'll see if they're gonna fit.
Nice. See, here's the slab that I discovered.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't, it looks like he did set it on time. I assume
Yeah.
he really poured it right over top of the
I'm mad.
walls. Don't get any ideas about her. I mean, she's not for sale, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
So where would the bench or benches have been in there?
From what I think probably just right here. Now some, you know, the bigger ones, they had them in rows.
Yeah,
you know.
so back to
So
back.
I think just
Stand there at
probably
your own risk.
right
So
along
anything
there.
here?
Of course, you know, it wasn't a
Just
Grand Central
two small
Station. It
doors.
was
So this is that picture
small
that
town
showed,
Iowa,
right? So it showed this
where-
place being a wall.
a half dozen people might have got on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know,
And he
you
said
can
that
you
one
can
has
do some
small
things
doorway
there.
too,
Okay.
not-
Oh, yeah, that's
That one's
finished.
good. Well, you can see it right there.
Hmm?
Right? You can see the old frame.
15
And 10.
and 10? Okay.
So
What
Julie,
was
you can see the old
15
frame
now?
right here.
So they
The
did
width here
Yeah.
The old door.
Yep.
should be
Right there.
17.
Yep. You're right.
Well, see, it
So see,
goes up and over and then down.
yeah. So here's where the old,
Trim boards.
Yeah.
here's the old door.
And it went straight across over there.
Yep.
Just like this again.
Yeah, so they just added
Just put the new trim on it.
This is made out of real wood.
Probably thicker.
Huh?
I said, this is made out of real wood.
Yeah. Now the
Here's one of the
ceiling, I
radios
think
that-
probably, yeah, that was that.
Wouldn't that have been cool to be new?
You think that's
got the short version.
not original?
I don't think that's original.
This is what I was talking about.
What's it like up above there? Oh.
In the picture, you showed like halfway down.
Oh, yeah, see, that's the original right here. If you can see, that's what, this will have to come down, and then that'll, yeah. And,
Probably one of these doors too, so be careful.
Yeah, be careful.
But this is exactly how we inherited it, just like this.
Yes, but this wall was not here. Because this is where, in that picture, that's where the agent was sitting. Right here.
So that would have been a solid wall all the way across.
Yeah, solid. That was solid. And then the doors went straight across from each other.
Right.
You see the hardware?
This come with it?
Yeah.
Hey, what's the top light?
Hey, is it Art? Oh, we gotta give that to Art.
That's an old pull tab top.
Yeah, that's one of the old pull tabs. I thought maybe it was the.
Oh, the church key?
Yeah.
Did you see the hardware on the doors? I was telling you, the rollers. and the...
Yep. And those are good.
So on the outside too, there was 2 screen doors on it. I don't know if it was original or not, but they're still laying over here on the ground.
They,
Oh, they're laid up.
Yeah.
They were on
no,
that
I
side.
think they might have been. I'd have to take a look, but I don't remember them. But they could have been on the inside.
Nah, they
Were they outside?
were on the outside. Maybe it's something
Okay.
that he put on so he could air it out. I don't know.
Buggy, or
What
the
did they have?
baggage, right?
Freight, yep,
Freight.
freight.
That was bad.
Yep.
What do you recall on the
That-
walls in here? What did
And
they
then,
Passengers,
you know what?
window,
Only thing I remember, we'd go in
Them
there
manning it.
and we'd
And
we
then-
just. I remember we'd play with boxes. So here's my.
Willie put this
We do have
copy
a
of
lot
the
of
story antiques on
Oh,
there.
I'm
so-
sure.
No, ever is.
But you know, he didn't put any. Here's what I'm thinking. If you know, it's going to be a process. But what I would do, I would take the boards off, plywood. You know, get an outside plywood, and then put the boards
Strength.
back on,
That'd be a lot stronger.
and put the boards back on.
That's what I thought too. And then move it. I thought about that. Move it as a kit. I watch Barnwood Builders a lot on TV.
Yeah.
If anybody's seen that,
Yeah.
they tear down old
But
barns
if
and put them back
you
up.
could, you know, and that'd be you're looking at
Time.
a year, quite a process. But if you wanted to do it, and then you could put that on the inside, then insulate it, and then put whatever you needed, wainscot or whatever you needed, however you want to do it. But
With
because
the,
this is a baggage room, this room and that room, I think would be the ones that would be more.
Functional ticket office.
Finish.
Well, more, yeah. Right. Like I say, yeah, it needs to be shored up, but, and they say it's feasible to do it.
yeah,
they came out and
they
said,
weren't worried
Okay.
about moving this one at all.
Okay.
They said, a piece of cake. All right,
Because I think we knew we had so much patching to do.
yeah.
That's a cool little shelf.
It is.
Does that go with the depot?
Oh, we haven't seen.
No, I think your wife wants it.
She probably hasn't
No,
seen
but
it. else she
inside,
will.
I mean, you even, yeah, it needs to be shored up a little bit,
Look
but.
at here.
Probably was not
We
original.
got some we
Probably
use at
antique.
home.
The old rug.
Well, I'll take, hey, do you want to take that home and wash it?
No, big God, no. Please.
Does anybody want a gaming table?
No.
Nope.
I think I'll pass it, Joe.
It just needs a little sanding.
I think it needs a little, I think it needs a little dumpster,
So we would get along.
You remember anything about the lighting?
Oh, yeah.
You know what? From the deal, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just one of those old hanging lights. But you can, stuff like that. I mean, you could maybe get an old,
That's original.
even if you
It
did a
looks like it.
ceiling.
Look at this switch.
It doesn't have to be so.
That's pretty cool.
You put that on eBay and probably get enough to pay for it.
So that's the one that goes to the light. And you'll have
And
to
the
look
turn
at.
one behind you.
Yeah.
Right there on the wall.
Yeah. And don't act, I was 11, 12 years old, maybe 10 when they tore it. I want to say 72. Someone said 70.
It was the original shade.
They look like. I grab up.
Those are those green ones. Well,
Were they green?
no.
They look plastic.
They're plastic.
No.
But I mean, no, this will cut, you can take that down, pull that, and then you go up to the other, because
As you can
another,
see,
what
it's
is
kind
it,
of sinking
2,
into the
3
ground
feet
over here in this
underneath?
corner.
Yeah, about 2 feet up, and then you have that, and that's the original, and then you could, yeah, you can take that.
So when they move this, they're gonna take the concrete with it, or they're gonna?
No,
bust it
no,
out?
Nope.
no.
Nope.
They'll probably cut it off somehow. I would
They'll
guess.
put big
Joe
beams
don't
through
know.
it. Did you
Yeah.
see them move the schools? Yeah.
I'd imagine they cut it off.
One.
Yeah, just cut it. Flush with the concrete. I'm not sure.
But I mean, the whole thing, I think the whole slab's leaning, that's why it,
Yeah, it's sinking into the ground over here.
Right. So, you know, it's gonna take elbow grease, it's gonna take, you know,
Somebody knows how to move it.
well, and like this, and here's the other thing you gotta worry about too. What kind of paint is this?
This is lead.
That's lead
Yeah,
paint.
it's probably lead, yep.
It's lead, so I mean,
I won't tell anybody.
Can't sand.
but you know what, like right now, you know, if the stuff wasn't on the floor and stuff, yeah, it'd be a little, yeah.
Well, we'll have it all cleaned out.
Yeah, and because you're looking at what, November, a month or so.
They're taking it straight this way
Okay.
into the field route.
Well, then they're gonna go out to the road that way.
I think so.
Yeah.
I thought we'd probably take down railroad tracks and deliver it.
Hey, what field drives down the field?
It's just maybe 10 yards.
We want to get the
Past the
railroad
corn.
involved.
Okay.
I thought
Yeah.
I'd get Randy Wheeler over here with
It's
all
bad
the
enough
dirt.
getting Mid-America
There's a
involved.
Fake road right
You know, I
here,
told
pull
somebody
straight
that about
out,
when you moved to
take his
school
dirt
that
back.
Mid-America charged
That
you
was
and
my
RAC
thought.
did.
Then, who knows?
And they said, yeah,
since
I
then,
know, I've moved stuff and it's the same way. I
I
said,
couldn't do that. You know.
good God. As if they don't have enough money already.
And they wouldn't.
Culvert. I
What-
went,
what-
take it back out.
What, so this is gonna be,
This is our way to tell our story
Really good.
and have a outdoor, we don't have any kind of outdoor.
You know, like you
Theater.
said,
It'd be cool to open up,
And I don't know
open
if
this
you
up
want
and
to
you
do
have
that.
some seating out there so
but if
it
you
can.
sheeted this with
Yeah.
plywood,
yeah,
really
And you know-
stiffen it up.
yeah, but we need to find those signs.
I don't know how that's gonna
And
work.
our
And
egg
even
pieces
if you
of
don't do it
piece we're
before,
kind of
even
missing,
afterwards.
and we need to
You
because
plywood
of all
the
our
inside and-
farmers, you know,
And I
tell
like
that.
that
You
window.
can
You know,
enclose-
those
And
windows
that
are so
makes
really
sense
big
with
and
the
stiff.
railroad.
Yeah,
They
now that's
brought in-
amazing how those
Yeah.
windows are still, unless they were,
Yes.
Those are pretty cool.
oh yeah.
It's a great building.
It is.
Needs a little love, so.
Yeah.
Maybe a little past a little love.
Yeah, a little more than a little.
But
But I
it's,
like the
I don't
idea
want-
of having a monitor out, having some scrolling pictures or stories.
Yeah.
And having Joe donate a bank of his 4 chairs from the auditorium.
Yeah, sit down and
Get rid of two
tell the whole.
I've tried to give them away. She just hasn't
but,
fit.
I mean, hey, that maybe could be, say, hey,
Well,
okay, here's an idea.
It'd be pretty cheap.
You could even put them, you
Well,
could even
even-
put them out in the waiting room.
Right.
Well, or your whole classroom of kids.
Your
and
theater
you
seats.
Tell them the story before
Turn this
they
into a theater.
go through. I mean, that
Yeah,
is.
good. Now you go to them, you go to them historical deals, and they always
Yeah.
got a movie running in
Not
the back in
long,
high school. Said,
just
no,
enough that,
Yeah, they come over to the window, buy some concessions,
yeah.
pop, snacks.
Well,
there's
can
trouble.
we get ice cream in here?
Right? Did you mean that?
Oh, my days.
I think you used to kick me in the shins, or it was your brother.
You think?
No,
that was my brother.
I know it was your brother.
Really?
Oh, shit.
Oh, was this?
With his cowboy boots.
Oh, I'm sure, I'm sure
I
this
from
was,
like outside of Chicago into Chicago.
I would
to
guess
a
they
Cubs game.
painted
My
all
sister
this
used to live in
now.
Aurora, Naperville area. That was fun.
And we didn't get
I was wondering if
That looks like.
the woodwork might have
Like
been
he said,
just
that might even
natural.
be lead paint.
see, now I could see that was,
I never
yeah,
thought
I
about
would.
that.
I know that
like
one
this
of the
one.
schools were.
Now, the
Well,
inside you
I
don't
wouldn't
have
tell
to,
them
but
that.
I
Nobody's
would
gonna eat it.
suggest doing that. Once, take all the boards off on the outside, put a sheeting plywood, Tyvek, and then put the boards back on. I know that's an undertaking, and then you can, yeah. Then maybe you could blow insulation in,
Breaking them.
and then over here you could just put regular insulation and stuff here. This is better than what I thought, especially being on the north side. You would think this would be more weathered than the others, but
I can show those screen doors too.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I want to get. I'm not going to get too many pictures in here, but
Come back when it's,
because if I'd
when
show
it's
them and go,
moved.
hey, look at
Yeah,
the.
they won't.
They go, what? I said no.
like you say, dumpster, you're done.
Oh, well, and see, here's my.
It's probably not gonna be saved, but.
That's where you
Well,
have
and
the
they'll have to.
Oh,
They opened it up to get the bees out.
yep.
Well,
So this false ceiling goes up like another 2 feet above it. So I have to take that down. Well, it'd be as high as on that side, probably.
No, doesn't look that way.
Be nice if you incorporate those little switches in.
There is a definite, that's 2 feet, this is more than that.
There's one up here too, there's a.
Maybe not.
I mean, you're gonna have to.
I'm gonna go out and record him again.
Oh, look at here.
Excuse me.
I would say redo the whole, take the whole, this whole bay window and.
But these look pretty solid, they've been protected. I don't know
Yeah.
once you take them off.
Yeah, but I mean, there's ways, I mean, you can incorporate now like here.
Hey, Julie, the pegs too.
What? He didn't believe me that our pegged windows in the school were original. And the Amish guy that we had come had never seen pegged windows.
So she's calling me and the Amish liars. But
No.
they're ignorant.
He didn't mean that they didn't exist. He just said he'd never seen them.
This guy's out.
Yep, there they are. That's original color too.
So 1883, yeah.
So is that.
Yep.
I would just get someone to paint over that white roof if you wanted to. Yeah. But I'm surprised those braces are. Now, this looks like it probably could have been put on different right here because it's not painted, but you know, once you get it on your foundation, yeah. And he put it, yeah, and these are the doors?
These are the doors that were on it.
Think about that condition. He might have built those himself too. Tried to open it up. Yeah. I didn't remember these sticking down so far, but yeah.
But that, well, this side would be in pretty good shape just because it was the east side.
And he had like a machine shed over here on the other side of that tree. There's still metal sticking out of the bottom of the tree. Maybe that's why he's got these sidewalks going over. And then he had another one over there.
Again on this side, so the sun. That's just the way they did it.
But he said over here, there would have been a sign or some kind of something sticking out.
Oh, that's where the notch.
Uh-huh.
You remember what it was?
Yeah.
What he said?
Well, we can ask him today. But it seemed like Scott said there would have been an arm
Crossing arm or something?
with a,
Maybe that's where the mail.
maybe that's where the,
was or something. I don't know.
Wish we had that big pole.
we have part of one
Oh, really?
from my cousin. It's in pretty bad
Did he
shape.
say he knows a guy with a pole?
I think he did.
Now we're more interested.
I know.
Now we know.
I know.
Well,
Still have the old metal.
I'd have to look at pictures. Unless he put some. But I am really surprised how good, like this wall, I mean, really, the wood, I mean, oh yeah. Well, you're gonna have poles. No. Well, and like I said, I would just have it painted.
Just
I would
paint it
just
green.
Paint it green, have someone come in, paint it green, and you know, and maybe wrap around some steel around a little bit, and you know.
The guy needs to be here. He wasn't that close.
Joe and Teresa.
No,
Oh,
here.
Rob.
That's my husband.
Oh, okay. Well, he wasn't in the.
Right.
But
He's here to pick me up.
He's the one that ends up doing it all.
He's my pack mule.
Yeah, our husband.
So you're retired from UNI?
Yeah.
She was a program.
Yeah. And then he's where is
He was an electrician
Oh, okay.
and also retired
from
here.
electric-
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Hey, Rob.
So good, we have an electrician.
Yeah.
I-
So
Oh,
our
two,
board-
actually
our
Dennis
board
is
has
two.
everything-
Working.
Everything but a lawyer. We don't have a lawyer, but
Well, I was in pre-law in college. Oh wait, or was it pre-med? One of those two. No, I am really, well, it's blowing a little bit there,
They've got,
but that's
they
because of
moved on
the.
in life like we have.
This is Dave. Want to introduce you? My
Yeah,
husband
pleased to
Rob.
meet- Yeah. No, it's just leaning now, and that's part, but,
Just a way of setting up the crowd.
I think that's that outside light, Rob, it happens to be.
I just want to save the switch.
Oh, yeah, okay there, Mr.
We'll save it.
Electrician.
Don't take it off of there. You're not
Yeah.
taking it off.
just let her know.
What are you doing?
eBay for $25.
Look at the inside.
Oh, okay. Do you remember what Scott said about this notch?
That notch.
Right here. Didn't he say right here on this side?
I
where
love
it's cut?
looking at it.
There's one not,
What about it?
Do you remember what Scott said? Wasn't there an arm with a...
Something that the wood was in the way of.
Oh. I
now,
love Rob.
was there? I'd have to look at pictures. But the bay window, that's what's, it's almost gonna have to be reconstructed, the bay window. You might even want to
You
just
like all
start
new
new.
windows?
So
I
we
would, I
We
would,
should have shown him Bennington and what we did there.
Yeah.
We,
Yeah.
all basically, right?
Some of it even more.
Yeah.
Like the door end, we probably went up 4 feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He smoked cigarettes, and you're thinking he's a painter.
Good idea, they put the tin on top.
His lungs, I
Yeah.
mean, he's amazing.
So, Teresa, there's our green right there. Where the shingles.
is that the right color? Yep.
Green is the right color.
Yep.
So I need to repaint my model.
Tree tap.
Yeah. With the roof green, huh?
Oh.
I would,
Yeah. But you might.
Well, watch out where you stand here, guys.
Okay.
So we got you hit a